Ladies and gentlemen, what it do, what it is, what's happening, what the business be, what up, doe? Welcome back to another extraordinary episode of the Extraordinary Exchange Podcast. I am your guy, the host with the most, Mr. Nate Bennick. I'm a co-host. Case, what's going on with you, Case?
Man, it feels good to be back in the chair. It's been a minute.
It's been a little bit. We took a little hiatus. People been asking us where we've been. We didn't officially say, all right, we're going to do a season 2, but I guess this will be the start of season 2.
There you go.
And man, what a way to start, though. What a way to start. We got the man, the myth, the legend in the building, a good friend of, E.I.G, supporter since he found out about us, getting to know this brother and what he's doing throughout the DMV. I was familiar with his brand before I was familiar with him, and then putting the two together was really, really dope. But without further ado, I want to introduce Mr. Ken Sandy. He's the managing partner of Dryy Garment Care, premier laundry locker service throughout the DMV. Y'all have seen the logo, y'all have seen the branding. If y'all live here in the DMV, familiar with it. And also the owner of First Team Dryy Restoration. He'll get into that and exactly what that is. But welcome to the podcast, Mr. Ken Sandy.
Thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be here. Honored, flattered.
For sure. Kind of long time coming, but we here now.
Anything y'all do, I'm gonna touch. So you already know.
I appreciate that, man. Real quick, man. I'm gonna tell you what. A real quick story about Dryy, and we had the Juneteenth. They were, VIPs. But they gave out the umbrellas. And when I tell you, them umbrellas come in handy, my brother. I appreciate it.
It's the essentials.
It is, man. I appreciate you for that, man.
Yeah.
But let's get into it, man. I'll go ahead with that question.
Go.
Can you share a story behind founding Dryy and what inspired you to get into the dry cleaner industry? Because I know me personally, when I go to a dry cleaner, they do not look like us.
Yeah.
So what got you into that industry?
Yeah. Well, a little known history fact: they used to look like us a long time ago, more than we ever knew. And the more that I've been in the industry and the research, you'd be surprised. But listen, I'm not a dry cleaner. I don't have dry cleaning background. It's really the result of two companies merging in 2015. At the time, we didn't know that we would revolutionize dry cleaning in the Washington, D.C. region. I had no background in dry cleaning. I was simply a customer occasionally that used your traditional corner store dry cleaner. But my journey really began when I discovered the locker-based technology concept. And it was being pioneered on the West Coast. And it just resonated deeply with me. I'm about on-demand, convenience-based solutions, anything that's new and fresh and exciting that you can get behind. And I guess it resonated deeply enough because I took a leap of faith and I invested in a large shipping container of lockers, had no idea what I was going to do. I rented Walmart parking lot space out in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, dropped lockers not knowing what I was going to do. And I just began selling the concept. And I really realized very quickly, I've done a lot of things, gentlemen, and failed at most, but I really realized quickly that I had a real disruptive concept. But I also learned that I lacked the operational experience needed to sustain it. Let's talk about the whole thing. So this challenge, it really led me to my current business partner because I was disrupting multifamily commercial sectors with the concept that he was already established in from a very traditional valet solution, that concierge to the security desk style versus no technology. We just really quickly realized that, together we could merge our strengths, man, and combine cutting edge technology, innovation, and with his proven operational experience, we really could create a vision. And that was to rebrand, transform the industry, multi-service approach that delivers quality, convenience, and innovation, man. And then from this collaboration, Dryy was born. And I'd like to think that we set a new standard in garment care, but while we also redefine what retail experience looks like for modern customers as well. So it's a multi-service channel platform that tends to meet our members at its preferred need, right? So if you are a Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X, I won't get any of that right. I hope that doesn't offend anybody. But if you prefer non-human engagement, and you prefer technology and living through an app, then we have a locker solution. If you prefer human engagement, we've got a retail option. If you're in a residential neighborhood and you prefer door to door, we got that for you too. So that's a long version. I'm sorry.
No. That's beautiful because I love how when we start these conversations, just kind of pull back the curtain. We send our guests a few questions just to let them know, what we plan on talking about based on their experience and their background. But the conversation always deviates from the questions, right?
Yeah.
Because one thing you said, you got the locker space at the Walmart, in the Walmart parking lot. Not really knowing what you were doing. Kind of talk about that and how important that is to entrepreneurship. Because a lot of people want to have all their ducks in a row, have everything aligned, have all the certs, have all the education, have the backing financially to go out and start their journey. But a lot of times, some of the most beautiful things blossom from like situations like yours. So talk about that a little bit.
I'm committed. I will only talk to an experience. So if I've been through it, I'll talk about it. And if I haven't, I will not.
For sure.
And so I've been like those young folks you talk about, wanting the big splash, wanting it to pop overnight, wanting the big hit. And then after 11 failures, man, I realized that probably is not going to happen. That maybe that's a false myth and it doesn't exist. And so I learned that I need to play the long game, look at sustainability. And there's just one thing you can't negate. Everything requires hard work. And I've got that. I've got the 14-hour days, the days we're looking at like you just didn't have any hope or like, what am I? This is insane, Ken. What are you doing? But I jumped in because it just wasn't that this fell in my lap. I was at a pretty dark time personally and professionally. I was in my early 40s. I was like, man, is this really going to be it? Because at some point you start going downhill, right? In terms of professional age and career. And so I just woke up one day and said, listen, if I'm going to take a chance on anything, I'm going to take it on me this time. Because I really could qualify that I hadn't really done that before. I thought I had, but I was just playing with things, man. I really wasn't going all in and delivering the grit and putting forth the effort. That's all I got. It's no secret sauce. I invested a little bit of money too. Let's be clear. So it had to work because it wasn't nothing left.
Right. Right.
Yeah, let's flush that out. There's no real help guide. You just got to jump in, man. And there is no perfect start. Everyone keeps looking for it. They keep looking for the alignment and the intersection and the funding and the partners and the silent partners and the investors and the silent, man, come on. Sometimes you just got to jump.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Got to put your big boy pants on and just make it happen. And once you figure out, even with the losses, and we won't really call them losses, they're more lessons.
Yeah.
Even with the lessons that you learn, you just adding stuff to the toolbox, and I said this to somebody the other day, like in the storm, you don't really feel what's going on. You just trying to make it to the next, trying to dodge the raindrops.
When I look, these are such great questions, and it gives me goosebumps when you ask me, because it does make me go back to a time, right, where I really, not that I've forgotten, but things evolved, and we're talking almost a decade, a little over a decade. I was loving the grind so much because I knew I'd gotten something right, and the community was so receptive. Although I was broke, I was negative EBITDA, I won't making no money. It did not make sense. I still loved it, and I was just not ready to give up. And that's really, really all I got, man. And good work pays off. So hard work pays off.
Kind of remind me of what Kobe was talking about. There's no real secret sauce to it. There's gonna be some sleepless nights. There's gonna be some days you try to figure out what the heck did I do, where it don't make sense, and then it starts to make sense, right? You got to be really radical about believing in yourself too. Like, Ken is coming off real modest story here now, but Ken, like, since I've known you, you got like supreme confidence in self. And Case will tell you, and all the fellas in the group will tell you, I have the same thing about myself. It's not an arrogance. It's not pompous.
No.
I know where the source of my strength comes from, not to get too, on here, but you have that confidence in yourself. So like you stepping out on a limb and jumping out there after quote unquote 11 losses.
That's tons of evolution, though. The elevation of Ken, the redemption Ken. I've got every layer there.
You had a few rebrands, huh?
Yeah, a few. Yeah.
But that's what you should like. Everything is a journey. Every chapter you find something new about yourself. And it's like, all right, cool. all the stuff that I just been through, now I can apply it in a different way that I didn't think of in those last few chapters.
I really learned that organic and real grit and heart, people appreciate that more than you know. And people will give you a chance, man, if they see its authenticity. And you know, to your point, like when you really believe in yourself, you don't have to convince others because they know it. And so yeah.
So,
Y'all get me crying on here. Y'all get me crying on here, man.
No, man, this is our platform collectively.
Right.
We couldn't have a podcast if we don't have, you know, guests that have experience, that have know-how, that can share their story.
Yeah.
Because, you know, with social media, everything seems so easy nowadays, right? It just happens overnight, but like sharing more of these authentic stories and letting people know it's real grit, it's real work behind, you know, some of these entrepreneur stories goes a long way. So yeah, we appreciate it. Cry, man. It's hard for me. Hey, man, men cry, dog.
No shame. Look, I learned. It's cleansing. So,
but to that point, like it's attainable, right? Like that's the part. A lot of times we'll see, oh man, they're doing this, they're doing that. I don't never think I could do that, right? And then when you put one foot in front of the other and you have your attainable goals, you have your attainable steps, you realize anything that you want to do is attainable.
That's right. That's right. And I just, you know, listen, maybe we'll get into it, but I mean, the willingness to adapt, I didn't have that for a long time, right? Mm-hmm. So once you really know what adaptability looks like, that was a breakthrough for me.
So y'all founded in 2017.
2015, I started my own business as a locker provider.
Right.
I did not develop it. I know everybody thinks I did. A company on the West Coast called Laundry Locker brought it to market in 2014-ish. And a guy named Arik Levy was doing everything technology with Amazon and package lockers and anything that technology could marry. This cat was doing it. And so I went out to an entrepreneurial summit. It was random and it spoke to me. But again, I had friends in property management and commercial development. So I don't get all the credit. I had some really smart people around me that I would listen and I'd hear about some of their problems. And I like to be a solution. So this one, to your point, who I tend to serve and believe in, just gave me the break. And so it was an opening. And I bought exclusive rights to a 3-year exclusivity to the DMV, meaning nobody could emulate this concept. I had 3 years to either get it right or shut it down. So I just developed an urban brand that married a concept, which Woot Woot now is the nation's leader in dry cleaning locker success.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Again, that wasn't a coincidence, right? Like we talk about maybe right place, right time. Kind of talk about personal development. And you were at a summit, right? It wasn't a forced summit, I don't think, that you were there. Like it was a reason why you were at the summit. There's a reason why you had friends in property management, development, and all that good stuff. So
the beauty is
all that together, and it helped you, you know, launch Dryy. So
100%.
Talk about that.
I got laid off, man. I'm you know, being a little modest here. I mean, I got laid off in late 14 from a very high position with a government contracting agency in logistics. And at the time, making money that I thought defined me. And now you look back, it didn't do anything and meant nothing. But it was dark times, man. And just because I was lonely personally, I hadn't rounded out as a person. I didn't really know what mattered to me the most. And all I knew how to do was work. And so people had told me for decades, you should be a leader in entrepreneurship, Ken. You've got the spirit. And I finally was like, you know what? Maybe they're right. So I jumped out and I had tried things, like I said, here and there, but never really took that real risk that where you really was defining, you know, you see it, you have a vision. I would dibble and dabble little things. And the first sign of failure, I'd retract. At any rate, personally, I was just in not a really rounded place, man. And so a buddy of mine was like, yo, come out to San Francisco, man. Just come out and hang out for a couple of weeks, clear your head, regroup, you know, come out here with no stress. You know, before you do, cash out your 401k, bring some cash. And so I did. And at the time, it's like, there's a big summit going on. And, you know, I know you like innovation and there'll be things that never make it to market. It's like the Jetsons out here, man. And he was right. And I did see things that were just overwhelmingly impressive. And the dry cleaning locker concept was being brought to market out there at this big trade show kind of thing. And I had a buddy of mine in property management that talked about and I'm not going to drop names, but his father gave him a role, and he was like, "Man, I'm struggling, Ken. They want me to advance all these amenities to technology and packages and fitness and dog walk-in and all these things." And he mentioned dry cleaning, and there I was at a summit where a dry cleaning locker was. It was Nexus, man. It was crazy. That's the story.
That's real. And so, like, dry cleaning locker technology is new to me, right? Like, I'm not familiar with it. When it comes to a dry cleaner, I just think your regular brick and mortar, go drop your clothes off and pick them up. So, can you explain the dry cleaning locker, just technology, the thought to the people, and what it exactly is?
Yeah, so it's an app-based solution. They're smart lockers, right? And so, let me back up. First of all, your traditional dry cleaner is not going to give you an umbrella, so
That's true.
let's don't lose sight of that. But it's just an app-based solution. It's called Drop Locker is the technology. It's proprietary software, and it's like Uber. It's like Uber Eats. It's like everything you do on an app now, right? And they marry that to a locker, just like Amazon or Eventbrite. Everything's got an app that you can communicate through. And so the lockers are installed in spaces. They just happen to be typically in apartment buildings, high rises. And if you are a resident, then you can utilize it. You download the app to your phone and you build a profile like you do everything else. And you order my driver to come get your dry cleaning like you would order Uber to come get you and take you to dinner.
That's dope.
And throughout the process, it's real-time updates. So it tells you where your order is and processing at all times.
Okay.
Down to the delivery. And the beauty in that is, the reason that's so magical is you are a traditional dry cleaner customer. So I don't know what times you go. I don't know if you've got work constraints, but you're rushing to get home from work to go by the dry cleaner. You missed the clothes. You didn't get your clothes for the weekend. You ain't got your church gear for Sunday. And it's all the dry cleaner's fault. And so
Yeah, right.
with the locker concept, it's on your terms because the lockers don't sleep.
Right. That's awesome. And you said they're in apartment buildings.
Yeah. We're in 513 buildings in DC, in DMV. And that could mean, listen, that's from anything from a 200 unit property to 1,000 unit property, which means some buildings have 2 lockers and some have 15. Okay. And so the configurations vary, the performance varies. Some marginally perform, and we've learned a lot along the way. Initially, I would put them anywhere anybody would want them because I thought that was the answer. Well, I learned very quickly that was not the answer because if they're collecting dust, it don't matter. So
right. That's amazing.
So finding that demographic, finding the audience that specific technology and solution and service lane speaks to took me a couple years to get that right.
Yeah, let's dive into that right there because I'm a numbers guy. I like analytics. I like data driven stuff. So like how do you pick these? Initially, you said you just wherever anyone would have them. You were down to put them in.
I'll put them in Fredericksburg. I had them in Baltimore. I had them in Laurel. I had them in Anne Arundel County. I had them everywhere.
Baltimore. Dang,
I did
work because your central location where you take everything back. I know you have a few also brick and mortar locations. You got a Union Market location. Yeah. You got a few locations on DMV. But where does the stuff go?
So we own a 30,000 square foot centralized cleaning lab, making it sexy. Just a processing plant out in Ashburn, Virginia. That's not that Ashburn specific, other than that's where we could get the space and afford it. We couldn't get that kind of space closer to DC. We've tried. It doesn't make sense, and we didn't have the resource. But back before the pandemic, Baltimore was expanding rapidly, and we were seeing the growth. And Baltimore, in a weird way, was kind of being captured as DMV. And so, service providers were thinking we could run it. Thank God. I'm not thankful for the pandemic, but for a few reasons. A, it stopped my scalability. I'm a local guy, and I realized that I'm a hyper local solution. And when you go outside of that, I'm not that guy. And so Baltimore, we couldn't service it right, traffic congestion. And so then the service really suffered. And so then our brand ultimately took a hit. So anyway, how we pick is Class A typically, not that Class B, Class C can't get dry cleaning lockers, but there's a disposable income that speaks to convenience-based solutions. And there's really definitive data that says this will speak to someone who is urban-centric, that's in typical walk communities, that likes to come home to the neighborhood and get their pizza, go to the grocery store, go to the drugstore, go to the happy hour, but be in a walkable setting. And so those buildings, and then DC's on explosion with multifamily. DC gets multifamily right. So you guys know Union Market, Navy Yard, City Vista, Bethesda, Silver Spring, they do density really well.
Mm-hmm.
So then I learned, wait a minute, I don't have to have lockers in Annapolis, right? I can centralize this thing. And then let's be clear, where are we? We're in a legislation town. Let's be around dry cleaning, right? Because I don't care what happens to the industry. There'll always be suits and shirts in this town.
Mm-hmm.
So we revamped and we said, you know what, maybe we don't need to be super huge. Let's be super good at a 6 mile radius, typical. You know, we go to Rockville, we go down to Alexandria. But, you know, anyway, super dense DC footprint.
Y'all really good at Dryy about your different logos and taglines. You might have came up with another one. Let's not be super huge. Let's be super good. I like that.
That's right. That's right. Do good with Dryy. Don't get me started. It won't stop.
I know it's a whole bunch of them. You see them on the trucks. You see them on the bags and on the paraphernalia.
Yeah, I'm just excited, man. Look,
every time I see a new one, I'm like, man, who's coming up with this stuff, man? Because it's so genius. It's so genius.
The key is that you can make anything sexy. And I had friends that were doing it before me. They were doing tattoo parlors. They were doing body shops. They were doing tea shops. I mean, they were really getting sexy with brand. I mean, they were really making brands have real equity. And so, you know, just why not dry cleaning? That's kind of how I got it started. And then that's why there's 2 Ys in Dryy, because you're going to ask me why 2 Ys, and I'm going to say, why not? So it's because of Sky Vodka. If you really want to know the truth, I was at the liquor store. Now you see the other side. And we were in the heat of what in the hell are we going to call this company? And there was we had a whiteboard, and there was about 30 names that I was at a roadblock. I was just cramped, could not think. And true story, I was going to a football party, and I had to pick up some vodka. And I was in the liquor store. And I looked over and I saw Sky, 2 Ys. That's as true as it gets, brother.
It's the little things that you see. You be like, you know what? That might even work.
Yeah,
that might even work. Yeah. And that goes to part of, you know, the kind of the disruption, right? Like, yeah, you might not think it works.
That's right.
But I think it works, and I got a kind of good footprint of making stuff that I think works.
That's right.
So you mentioned the pandemic. Did that, you know, other than you know, the business kind of expanding the footprint at that time, right? And the pandemic kind of making you guys shrink it back. Was there anything else in the pandemic that you know, as a business owner, caused you to adjust your business or to kind of pivot or anything of that nature?
This is I could talk about this for hours. I mean, truthfully, we rebranded about 14 months before the true onset of the pandemic, meaning Dryy was birthed. We had rebranded the lockers. We did not have, you see the store that's behind me. Mm-hmm. We did not have any retail locations. And when we rebranded, I didn't have any retail in mind. It just had I thought retail was dead. We were in a movement where everything was on demand, scalability, retail is going down. But what we learned quickly, I'll get to the answer, is that the lockers, we were in about 300 buildings at the time. And I'm like, man, I was doing some data scrubbing like you, Nate. I'm forensic like that. And it was telling me that I was only getting about 22% out of each building. Well, these units were like 400 and 500. I'm like, something's missing. And so we didn't have any real resource on figuring it out other than getting gangster with it. We would just sit between the hours of 3 and 7, which is kind of the arrival times from home. And we'd watch people walk in the building, go get their dog, walk their dog, go back upstairs, go past the lobby, past the lockers, down 4 blocks to a retail store. And so that was my next evolution. Whoa, retail's not dead, right? So I got to come up with retail because I wanted all roads lead to Dryy. You're not going to walk by my lockers, man, if you can come to my store. So anyway, the pandemic, we launched retail. We got real excited about it. We hired architects. Renee, you've been to the store. Every square foot's in concert. We have local artists that display. We really wanted that engagement to be a true destination tentacle to the community. We could not have been more excited. The community received it, and then the pandemic hits. I had construction loans, architectural loans. I had 3 stores. I had staff. The government, I mean, the mayor deemed us essential, which at the time I'm like, man, that's exciting. At least we can stay open. That didn't mean nothing. Won't nobody moving.
Nobody coming.
It became a bird. Now I got payroll to a store. It's all not making sense, man. But again, I can't get too deep in it because I do get a little emotional because at the time where this is the first time I've ever been through a pandemic like this or, global crisis. And I'm a new business owner. I'm still figuring stuff out, man. I got 52 people that are reliant on a biweekly paycheck. And I went from historical numbers to 18% productivity in 8 weeks. And so you can't go to Home Depot and get a book on that. So yeah, man. So, we rallied as a team. I was very transparent. I don't know what we're doing, what we're going to do. Thankfully, we were a little cash rich and we had a little resource. But I watched my people redefine humanity, man. They made the calls. They determined who got cut, who didn't, based on their needs. It just, man, you would talk about, woo. So, there was a lot of good things came out of the pandemic in that regard. Thankfully, we've got good relationships with our bank. We did access government resources. We used that properly. We bought new vehicles. We bought new boilers. We bought new equipment. We had 3 people go home for 2 weeks. And then about 4 months, we had everybody back at 40 hours. And of course, as owner, you just take less, man. That's what you do. You take less so that people, because at some point you're hopeful that it's coming back, but you're in a phase where can't nobody give you any hope because it's the one time in my life, nobody could tell me when that was going to happen. So, the pandemic was tough. It did make us stronger. And to the point of what you mentioned earlier about restoration, I would have never started a second business because I learned I never want to be in that position again. So I did some research and I wanted pandemic proof businesses. So, and restoration was one of them, restoration companies thrive. In fact, more people are home. People are burning the houses down. Cooking and leaving stoves on and leaving water running and creating floods, and the restoration industry thrived. So at any rate, I pivoted and bought a franchise and merged and brought a second business called Dryy Restoration. And so now I've got 2 businesses, and that's because of the pandemic. But it did force us to reevaluate growth. That's why I was glad we didn't scale, because had I went to other markets like Richmond, Atlanta, Chicago, I'd have been in real trouble. I may not even be here today. Because what that would have took, I don't know. I couldn't have rebounded from that. So it stopped that, truthfully.
I like how we pivoted. We're going to pivot into first team Dryy Restoration. But give me a second. I want to give you your flowers, brother. Because the reason we're here is because of relationships. I'm a firm believer in leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. You are a servant leader to not just your people, but to the community, your clients, the people you've grown partnership with. So talk about the importance of those relationships. Because even like quick story real quick, like, at E.I.G, we do Black Friday. Every Friday is Black Friday. We highlight 5 Black businesses. Most of these businesses, no offense to them, we don't do it for recognition. We'll highlight them. They won't say nothing. They won't like a post, which is fine. We do it because we're about, highlighting Black businesses. But you liked it, you commented, you got in our DMs. Like a day later, you were like, hey, man, I like what y'all brothers are doing. Boom, boom. A genuine friendship blossomed from that. So then when we had our Juneteenth event, you were like, yo, how do I get involved with this? Mind you, we had never met face to face yet. You were like, oh, I'm trying to get involved. I was like, well, we got tables for sale. Like, no, I'm trying to sponsor. Like, they got sponsorship packages that we had just put a sponsorship deck together like a month prior. It to you. You were like, all right, let me go ahead and drop this. Like, I want to contribute on this level. Mind you, this conversation took like 20 minutes online. And I'm always seeing you out someplace, in the streets, building relationships, building community. And I believe that's been the cornerstone of why Dryy and all your other businesses have been successful as well. So just talk about the importance of relationships.
Appreciate you saying that, because it could not be further from the truth. Like, forever you hear relationships, but what's the definition of relationship? It's not just taking to a ball game and then getting a book of business. It ain't taking the cats fishing, man, and getting business. It's beyond the transaction. It's got to be beyond the transaction. And, I've learned that building meaningful partnerships, man, with local businesses and artists, it starts with understanding, aligning. And, I'm a big heartbeat guy, man. So I align with the heartbeat of my community. And here in DC, the key is authenticity. It's not just trendy. People want to be around some real authentic stuff. Good, bad, or struggling or not. They want authentic, real, emotion, raw movement. They want to work with brands that truly invest in the environment, not just operate within it. I learned, listen, if you listen, the community tells you what it needs.
Mhm.
So, and I'm from the community. Let's don't get it twisted.
Boy, baby.
I've been,
No.
I've been a coat recipient from a coat drive, and I've been the sponsor that offers the coats for the coat drive. I don't get no more real than that. So it's about creating value on both sides, and they should not just be transactional. I can't reiterate that enough.
Mm-hmm.
That's not built for everybody, because it means that you have to really care about the relationship. And so I'm not saying people don't care. Please don't misinterpret that to any of your listeners. But you have to really, really care, and you have to look for synergies between the two. Again, creating value on both sides. You have to approach with collaboration. When I approached you, it was with a collaborative spirit. And I teach my team, and I try to teach other partnerships that I partner with. Man, if we collaborate versus compete, I know it sounds tongue in cheek, but it's real. If you had all the work, you couldn't do it all. No way.
Mm-hmm. There's enough to pop for everybody.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
that's real.
But relationships, man, it is the number one at my list on success. When you build trust in the community, I have learned, it ain't just something I read. I've learned that people will. Dryy may be pretty, but we are a nasty, gritty dry cleaner operation plant, and it's labor intense, and it's a nasty business, and we make a ton of mistakes every single day. But I feel, because some of the true relationships we have, that we're forged a little more mercy and grace. Right. Mm-hmm. So people want to do business with brands that align with our social and moral compass, man. And that's real.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me to my, again, the story that I have is through y'all relationship. Y'all came to the Juneteenth event, and just the authenticity.
Yeah.
And me being running around with like a chicken with my head cut off. Y'all were some of the vendors that just made me kind of stop and breathe, and was like, all right, everything's all right. Like, everything's all right. And I appreciate y'all for that. So like with your community relationship and your social prowess within the community, what is that drive? Is it like you said, is it that the community kind of drives what y'all as a business will say, hey, we're making money here, but this community still needs this, and we need to be able to ingrain ourselves in the footprint of this community by giving back?
It's such a combination of things. Like, I'm real passionate about fair, equality, housing, pricing, regentrification, and all the movements. I'm part of it. I'm a business owner of communities that have been regentrified, and I'm not going to just come into a community and not be part of it and inject value in ways that I can. And I think that I think all businesses, but small businesses, you need to adhere to a social responsibility. If you think you can just run business operations every day and make a lot of money and be successful, and that might work. It's not long-term. And I think there's a real sense of responsibility that we owe. Like, there's a social commitment that we should inject in our value, in our business operating plan every single day. Listen, they don't mean just go give everything away for free. Let's be clear. I mean, I didn't start doing that day one, by the way. I did community for the first 4 years because I couldn't even eat. But once you get it on an autopilot and some sort of infrastructure, and you start to go, ooh, man, I might be making it, man. Now it's time to be giving and sharing. But again, be smart, man. You don't give $100,000 away and then can't pay payroll. But my commitment is this. I commit to using whatever resources that I have that don't disrupt my business day to day on a daily. We set out every day to enrich the communities we serve, and we do that. We have a lot of initiatives. We have a Dryy Run 5K every single year.
It's funny. We just started talking about doing a 5K ourselves within E.I.G. So
they're phenomenal. And because fitness is in, fun, fitness, philanthropy, right? You can merge all that together. Community, culture, commerce. They sound buzzy, but they really do go together. And 5Ks there's not enough of them per week, per month. And we pick someone in our community. We let the community, we have a committee about 4 months before June every year. We get together, we start doing some call to action and some polls, because I want to be very clear who I vet. I don't want to give people money that's not doing the right things. So we spend some time vetting whoever we're going to make the recipient. And then all the brands that come up on this committee, we cross market. We put our brands like you guys do. You guys don't hear anybody. Talk about flowers. Let's be reciprocal here for a minute. What you do every year at Juneteenth is phenomenal. Y'all turned Silver Spring upside down. I mean, the level and number of vendors that y'all have that come out, and you can tell when you go around that vendor fair that everybody was intentionally picked, right, in a synergistic way. Like you have parts, jewelry, food, service-based. I mean, it's really well done. So
appreciate that.
So real quick, what is Dryy's mission statement or vision statement? Because you said enrich the communities you serve. Is that part of?
Complement work-life balance.
Okay.
One resident at a time through innovative and technology, while all the while adhering to a social responsibility.
Okay. No, because you said enrich the communities you service, and that's literally part of our vision to enrich the community service through.
We set out each day.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it's true.
All right. So the pandemic brought about First Team Dryy Restoration. Kind of get into that and how I didn't even think about it. During the pandemic, that kind of blossoming and how that is a somewhat pandemic-proof business model. Talk about that. How that came about. That's dope.
Well, you don't realize until you get into the industry on just how many water leaks happen every day, how many people burn their houses down every day. Like within 5 miles of where you live, you don't even know what's going on. We have a lot of rain. You get mold basements and floods and things. So there's no shortage of it. In fact, there's not enough companies that can even handle it all. There's always a backlog. There's always a pipeline of work pending. And so those are real good odds. If you look at law of average, man, that's a business plan that, you talk about consistency and stability. Dry cleaners, it's no secret that dry cleaners along the way through time start looking at restoration just by natural lateral, but not what we do. They look at it from a textile clothing standpoint. So if you have a fire and there's smoke damage, a dry cleaner can come pack the clothes out and treat for smoke odor or mold and mildew. It's what we do anyway. We jumped into it with just being a textile restoration company initially because I learned in my 11 failures, stay in your lane, bro. Right. So I knew laundry, I knew dry cleaning. So that just made sense to me. We got into it 6 months later. I saw other opportunities with content pack outs and storage. And storage is where the juice is at. And we just started knocking out. But listen, I want to be real clear. I've got a team of heroes behind me. I am nothing without them. And because they are cultured and are willing to do what it takes, I can expand and try things. And so I can't go another second without making mention of that. And they were ready and they were hungry. And, we breed entrepreneurship and we offer equity. It's not just payroll. We offer skin in the game. I learned that was a real technical, valuable tool to give people pride and a sense of being. So we started doing contents and pack outs. And I learned that all the Michael and Sons and the Stanley Steamers and the Paul Davises and the Serve Pros, they needed us because they do all the water mitigation. And they can't do the flooring and the repair works with all the furniture and the content. So then we found ourselves being a moving company. And then, all that was under Dryy Restoration. We were running under the Dryy Covenant. And so it was kind of like Mother Dryy was taking care of the child Dryy Restoration. But I'm proud to say as of September 1st, that we broke those companies out. And now Restoration stands independent. It runs its own payroll. It's got its own fleet of trucks. It's got its own warehouse spacing. Which leads me to what do we do now? Because listen, restoration, the profit margins are much bigger. I can do more with less. So, as you get about 10, 11 years of business, those things matter. So, but it's a nasty business. I'm struggling. I can't make it sexy. I have thought of a million ways of putting the dry spin on it. And I'm drawing a blank, man. It's fire, water, smoke, mold, and mildew.
Have two separate entities, you know what I'm saying? Like they don't have to kind of marry, even though
I don't know if the audience I don't know if the audience cares about the branding too much, right?
Right. Yeah, because they're going through tragedy, right?
The other thing is, you're right. The other thing is, think about it. They're not repeat customers.
Right.
Well,
at that point, it becomes insurance fraud, and that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, that is another conversation.
All right, we talked about technology with the lockers. Is there a similar technology that you use with restoration, or is just the Dryy in itself that technology one is its own?
So it's like any other industry. There's no shortage of technology solutions for everything now, and with restoration, you really have to have it from Matterport technology where you go in and you AutoCAD 3D homes so that you have the true blue footprint so that you can write reasonable customer estimates and be fair with pricing. But the insurance industry runs that industry. And so there is a national database called Xactimate that we all sign our life away that we will use, and we have to bill from it. But there's some other specifics that you can customize on your own, like managing your fleet and managing labor and whether or not you're even, profitable. Technology to barcode your storage bins, and so that you can easily find things in your warehouse. I mean, there's just it goes on and on and on. But we use all the industry standard stuff right now. Next year, I'm going to really go hard on it, on advancing technology, because we're getting ourselves beat to death. Just too much labor, too much manual labor. Understood. Yeah. I don't know enough about them to really comment. I know they're out there, but I haven't done a lot of demos and things.
Now, does that take you to another convention or another convention of some sort?
Unfortunately, yes. So I have convention my behind off over the last 12 years, and after a while, it's like it's just another 3-day party, man. It's like, come on, yeah. How much do we really take away from this? But it's always good when you're breaking in, right? Just to be seen and known, and I'll do it for that purpose. But yeah, it does require that. Yeah.
And I'm assuming that you work with the insurance adjusters to
yeah. So everything's through a referral, right? So if you have a car accident, right, you call your insurance company, Progressive or Allstate says, hey, based on your zip code, these are the 10 providers that you can pick from, or this is our preferred contractor. It's the same concept.
Now, it's funny that you talk about conventions, because I was looking into this new business, and one of the things was a convention. I was like, man, I don't know about making a trip to the convention. And I know and deep inside that I need to, because I don't know much about the industry, but I know I need to learn. But just hearing you say, going to those conventions, just, that's pretty cool. So
early onset, you really should, because you'll see people doing cool things, and it'll give you probably the quickest overview of the industry that you'll ever get in 72 hours. You'll see some of the most insane technology, things that you didn't even know existed. You'll start to see brand names that will resonate later. I'd recommend you do go.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, just think what we did at E.I.G. We started merchant services, and then
correct.
Went down to Nashville and went to that convention. Came back with all kind of value. Then people hitting us up trying to get our book of business.
Yeah, so. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's no way around it. You have to embrace technology and innovation. I mean, it's just or die.
I mean, yeah.
There's no not focusing on technology and innovation in a business today. There's just no way around it. Yeah.
You're right. If you decide not to get into technology, you decide to kill your business.
It's a short ride.
Yeah, very short.
So AI is clearly the hottest technology right now. Yeah. How are y'all utilizing AI within all your business structures?
We haven't done a ton of it. Like a lot of my, I've got my social media on autopilot. I've got somebody that runs that for me, because I haven't gotten a proposal from, you boys yet. But
chill. All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it out to the masses. Maybe they'll influence you to. I am looking for a platform that can just run it, and so I got a guy now that just does it, in an organic way. I do write some legal estimates and stuff through restoration through AI, but I haven't had to use it yet, and I don't know enough about it. So it means sitting down and spending 2 hours, because there's no shortage of it now, right? And there's probably good AI, there's probably not so good AI. What do you recommend? How do you see?
AI influencing the industries that you're in. Again, I'm not familiar with the technology that y'all use. Like you were just talking about some of the stuff y'all were using at the warehouse with barcodes and stuff like that.
I think it's great for social media. If I could find a platform where you could just feed it what you want, I think that it could probably be super productive.
Mm-hmm. You can create a bot. That's So on the E.I.G, on the E.I.G Instagram, I toy with just creating a bot by just entering whatever data, like if it was, stock, repeat some stock quotes for the day. right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
if somebody says, "Hey, what is the best stock, or what stock has risen the most in a day?" That bot will be able to compute that information, that data. It now, like now, there's a few platforms where they kind of give you the whole office suite of employees,
Yeah.
and if you need somebody to write some marketing material for you, you just
Yeah.
type what you want, and that bot will do it for you. So
Unreal.
a lot of as more data goes in, these bots that are created, and these people who are white labeling Chat GPT and creating their own bots,
Mm-hmm.
will kind of be the workforce of the future.
Wow. So you don't think it'll ever replace? There'll have to be somebody that will have to manage it and fuel it and input, right?
Somebody has to manage the systems, right? But
Yeah.
what's happening is that we are giving these databases, these machine learnings, all the information that they need, right? So
It's pretty spooky, man.
it can be,
Yeah.
if it's used the wrong way, but like you may be able to say, hey, for I need a marketing plan for this new product that's coming out, but you're going to speak to it in your language. I may be saying in Wichita, Kansas, in the middle of nowhere, hey, I'm interested in finding something about these lockers, right? But the data that you put in is inputted in some database, and that's going to be compute to a different database,
Ah,
and somehow they'll get some type of data that you may have entered
got it.
into that, right? But just
Yeah.
because the machine learning and everything's
Yeah.
going to start eating from the same database.
I've toyed with it, and so just testing those things. Like I needed an operating agreement for something, right? And I asked it to
Right,
write me an operating agreement, and it did.
There you go.
It was very basic, and so
right,
but it gave me a shell that I didn't feel like writing. So I mean, there was value there.
right.
Um,
It cuts the time curve and the learning curve out of stuff like that.
I had a
So,
legal issue where I had to create a legal document, and it wrote a whole legal document for me. So I mean, I have used it, but
But once you continue, like so with that legal document in that one frame, right? You can continue to edit that document as you go, right? So as you continue to think of information, hey, in this situation that didn't happen, in this situation it did. Can you write
oh,
that jargon? And so you'll be basically you're machine learning. So you're just
yeah,
giving it information. It's going to compute. It's
yeah,
going to become a brain. So it's a
yeah,
gift and a curse at the same time.
yeah, yeah. When it starts picking up emotion, man, I'm gonna back up a little bit.
yeah, I was gonna say, like at this point, it's only regurgitating information that has been out there already. Like
Yeah,
it can't innovate, it can't, bring something new to market that hasn't already been developed online because it's drawn from all these different touch
yeah.
points. So
I
it's just
think
taking all that, collecting it real quick, and spitting out information based on what's been.
yeah.
It can't forward think yet to
I
where
like
it has
polishing.
feelings, it
It,
has.
it can put a polish on an email that takes it to a 100 level, right? Although
Right.
it's your words because you feed it, right? It's just
Mhm.
fun, and so I've used it a couple times there too. So
Yeah, it's very good for business communication. I will say that
yeah,
I don't know the last time that I've sat and was like, you know what, I need to actually type this email
I hear
because
that.
I'm gonna put my thought in Chat GPT. Hey, type that email for me, copy and paste it into it, and
I
just
love it.
proofread it.
Yeah,
So
keep it.
it does save you time.
Yeah,
You talked about the 5K. Tell me a little bit about the 5K. Like, how did that get started?
it did. Well, the pandemic, and so I'll be honest. What we didn't go into earlier was, man, at one point I did not know we were going to make it, and so I came home to my other half, and I'm like, if we going out, we going out with a flame. So we go do food outposts. We go help whoever needs help. We go transform this whole business into something because for once I had purpose, I had resource, I had vans, I had warehouse, I had staff. I'm like, we can't just sit around, man. We got to do something. And I started aligning with people that were like minded in the community, doing other things. There was no shortage. And then I had buildings. I had partnerships in 500 communities. And I
Mhm.
learned people wanted to give, man. They just didn't know how to give. People are scared. They didn't want to come out their house. And
Mhm.
so I could just start doing some call to actions, man, aligning with the property managements, donating drop boxes, doing gently used clothing in your lobbies, man. I aligned with some food outposts, Martha's Table over in Southeast, Sasha Bruce. I mean, just a ton of them. And then I'd also ask for non-perishables. And then I would take it back to my warehouse. We'd clean and sanitize. And so we were doing that for a while. We were doing ready to eat meals like, tuna cans and cup of noodle soup and stuff like that, and bagging them and getting them ready. And deposit them like on H Street. There was a couple of retailers. That was a big hit, man. It was just, and it started to just really take off. And I met a young man named Chris Carty, who was also doing the same thing. And we became fond of our work. And one day he came to me and was like, yo, Ken, we have to do a Dryy Run 5K. And I'm like, wow, play on the word, play on the name. And I didn't know how to do a 5K. And I was like, well, what do you think? He was, just launch it and it'll come, it'll happen. And so that year we didn't know, we donated to a local non-charity in DC. And that's when I realized about vetting where the money was going. I thought I was doing a great thing. Not everybody aligned with the organization. Man, I started getting all these emails. If this is what Dryy aligns with, you're not getting my clothes anymore. I'm like, oh, thing, man. Oh my God. You know, that's when DC can be rigid. So, anyway, we rebounded. I didn't have ChatGPT to write my response, but I did come up with a pretty good response to it. We rebounded. But from there, I was like, again, there's just so many ahas, man. I'm like, I'm honest. I got something. I hear you. And then I didn't know that I was going to do it the next year. And I started getting emails from my customers. Hey, when is the Dryy Run 5K? I'm like, wow, okay. It's going to be June 2nd. So, we were just super intentional about keeping it free of politics and bureaucracy, and just listening to the community and shining the spotlight on whoever we thought that qualified and deserved some spotlight. So, every year we begin planning about 4 months in advance. We identify the recipient. We roll out a cross-collaborative marketing campaign, just like you guys when you roll your Juneteenth out. It's very similar. Again, I'll always say it: fun, fitness, philanthropy, and seamlessly keeping brands collaborating.
And we'll be rolling out our 5K information soon. So if there's some,
you guys need to come out this year as a team, man. It's gonna be big this year. Yeah, come out, give me your logos. Let's put you on the flyers, man.
What's the date? What's the date, y'all? This year,
Saturday in June, whatever that date is. It's always the second Saturday.
Yep. Right before Juneteenth.
Yeah, that's right. All this philanthropy, like, listen, it really is a sense of purpose, but never lose sight that it ropes into strategy as well, right? You combine movement, purpose, which equals progress, right? It's just, it's a winning formula. I don't have to save the world. I can't. But if I do just a little bit, you do a little bit, and someone else does a little bit, you guys get it.
That moves a lot. That moves a lot. Yeah. I know that's when we started this. We have cats in Maryland, North Carolina, and Georgia, and it's like in the big picture, it's like, hey, that's a whole coast, right? But what are we doing to kick our can down the road and to enrich and enlarge our footprint, our movement, what we're doing, and that's how we get in contact with groups like with Dryy and all these other different small businesses who are all like-minded and who are all trying to solve the same problem, right? Like we're all in the community. We all know the history of America. We're all trying to better our environment for the next ones coming along. So that's amazing.
I'd say give yourself a break. I mean, I think you guys already got the fundamentals down. You align well. You got a core group that is committed to the mission. You have nothing to prove now. Let it be organic, some of it. I mean, you guys, y'all conveyed very well. I mean, I could tell that it was a well-oiled machine.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, man. As we wrap up, you were talking about the rain. The rain that came here. My license flickered a couple times.
I told you, man. Well, look,
I don't want to get cut off.
If you get any water in that house, you know who to call.
Always on brand.
Yeah. In fact, leave your window open, man.
Hey, man.
I'll waive the deductible.
That's hilarious.
Oh man.
So what's the future plans, man, for Ken Sandy, man? Still. Dryy got first.
I'm trying to figure that out because I get in trouble, man. Because just sometimes, I don't know how to sit and enjoy the ride, man. And again, I'm saying all these tongue-in-cheek things, man. But I'm really right now, as we speak, trying to learn how to love this day that I'm in. And it's hard for me, man, because I've got ADHD times 10. I can't, my mind don't never stop. I'm always thinking about what can I be doing. So one thing that's in the future I'll share, because it's down to the wire now. We're launching a laundromat over in Eastover Shopping Center, in Prince George's County, and that's my next community move. We've been going over, my spouse and I, each Saturday doing our laundry at this the laundromat, just figuring out how the heartbeat works and what are the needs, the touch points. And man, there's so many. Like you see little 70-year-old women dragging 80-pound laundry bags up the sidewalk, breaks your heart. Like, my God, we got to do curbside service, man. What do you mean? Pull up, blow your horn. It's the little teeny things.
Yeah.
Everybody in there outside because they're trying to cop on the Wi-Fi at the dentist office, man. Offer free Wi-Fi.
Right.
You know, change that engagement. And I found that's my lane, man. I like changing engagement and raising the bar and resetting expectations. And so that's my next excitement. Although it's broadcast and it's recorded, it's not out to the public, which it will be now, and I'm fine with that. But we're going to demo it and take it to another level. So,
yeah, I remember you mentioning that a while ago. So that wasn't just something that you just came up overnight and said, so like.
And I learned, man, start planting your seeds. And so I've been doing laundromat research for 4 years now and getting real impatient with it. And I swear, man, you guys get it. So I don't have to make you believe it. It will show up. It just shows up.
1,000%.
Yep. All right. There's enough Alice in Wonderland, man. Good.
Yeah, man. Hey, man. Let's. We appreciate you being on, brother.
100%.
Everybody know where they can find you, how they can get in touch with you.
Yep. DryDC.com. That's with 2 Y's. DryDC Instagram. If you hit that up, it'll come right to me. Yeah. Reach out. Let me know how we can help, support, collaborate, and we need to see you guys again soon. So.
Yes, indeed.
Hey, y'all had something at the Union Market location the other day. I was like,
before you stop recording, let's talk about that for 2 seconds. And so again, using engagement space, being part of the community, I learned.
It looked dope.
I launched that store with that purpose to use that space. It's not big, so you can't do huge things in it. But for small, intimate settings, it does work. We put mood board lighting. It's dripped. Sound system's insane. And my nephew is Bloomberg by day. At night, he's a cultural architect, and he's got a good, solid group of young influencers. I don't even know what that means anymore. Everyone's an influencer, but they wanted to throw an event in the space, and it was a sound listening. It's a 3-hour jam session, and I was like, the only way you do it is you got to tie it into dirty laundry, and they called it the dirty laundry experience. So we've trended. We've got 3,000 new followers in 72 hours on that cross-pollination because the requirement was you couldn't come in unless you had 100,000 followers.
Okay.
Anyway, I didn't do that.
That's why I wasn't invited. All right, cool. That makes sense. All right.
I was over there across the street.
Yeah. In fact, I was told I had to sit in the back, so I couldn't even. All I did was turn the key.
Hey, so Ken, let me ask you this: how many people does that venue sit?
It'll hold about 45. Where you're not, knocking knees and knocking down. So to the point, you guys want to do something after hours on a Saturday or a Sunday, I'll sponsor the refreshments. We'll get a sponsor of some sort. Just have a social, come together, use the space. I mean, that's what it's there for. I just
did a music bingo event down here.
Have a listening party at the Dryy store.
I just have to get up there, but we could do a music. I'm all for throwing a music bingo type of environment at the joint, and
we would love that for real, and we can make that happen for real. It'd be sexy, man. So let's talk about it. Let's do it. And Raleigh's 3 hours away, man. You talk like you live in California.
He's up early all the time.
The way that 95 set up,
you get on the Amtrak.
We'll make sure that happens.
The moral is, man, let's follow up, man. I dig you guys, man, a whole lot. The energy is infectious. So
man. We appreciate you. Much love to you and your folks over there. Let's continue growing. Let's continue flourishing, being the best version of ourselves, building community, partnership, all that good stuff. And you already know.
Keep dropping it like it's dry.
I ain't even heard that one. You got it
right. I'm ending right there.
Hey, man, we got it for days. Bars, man. Bars. Hey, Ken, I appreciate you, man.
All right, gentlemen.
All the best. We'll be talking soon, man.
Family, all right. Love y'all. See y'all.
All right.